This was a topic that was weighing a little bit on my mind this morning as I was driving. So much, in fact, that I almost hooked up my phone to the car mount and pushed record and did a card style recording video, which is something I haven't done in a long time. And usually the only time I ever do that is when I'm doing movie reviews. But I said, you know what? I wanted the quality to sound good, so I'll wait till I get home, and I didn't want to have the car noise in the background, and I didn't want to have to not give y'all any contact, because when I give contact with people, I like to give eye contact, and I would have to focus on driving and everything like that. But that's besides the point. But I wanted to talk about something that kind of just weighed heavily on my mind ever since I did that video talking about the new King Richard film that's coming out, starring Will Smith as Richard Williams, the father, coach, whatever else you want to call him, to Venus and Serena Williams. And this tweet that I posted up there, and it got a lot of reception from people who was in agreement with me, and shout out to all of those who agreed with me. But the tweet reads, "Fathers like Richard Williams will get shamed, although he produced two of the most powerful forces in women's tennis the world has ever seen. But D Wade will get praised because he acknowledged his son as a girl." Notice I put son in all caps because I refuse to, one, acknowledge his son as a girl, and two, acknowledge his son as this new name that he picked out for himself. As far as I'm concerned, he was born Dwyane Wade and he will die Dwyane Wade. I don't care what the world decides to call him. Now, I was going to do a video talking about something that rubbed me the wrong way as far as the most recent things with the Dwyane Wade situation. If y'all didn't know, he was trending on Twitter a couple days ago, and I was like, I wonder what it's going to be about, because it didn't have Dwyane Wade, it had Zaya Wade up there. And they said Zaya Wade makes his first public appearance on a red carpet or wherever event he was at as Zaya Wade, and of course by his side was Dwyane Wade and that high priestess witch that he married, Gabrielle Union. And I keep telling people, they are parading this boy around as a mascot. They don't even talk about his other kids like that anymore. He's even taking the spotlight off of the actual biologically born daughter that he had with the surrogate, because Gabrielle Union didn't push that baby out of her. I'm going to always reiterate that. She did not push that baby out of her. That was pushed out of another woman, even though those were her eggs. But you know how that process goes. But they are parading him around everywhere. Like, if you went to their Instagram pages, you'll see the pictures, or you can go online and you'll see the pictures and how they were dressed and everything like that. He was up there looking like almost like a watermelon. Like, he had this it was like a black outfit with a pink, like some kind of ribbon or bow around his waist, and some kind of jacket that had a green stripe down the sides. It looked weird. Like, it looked really weird. And I don't know if he was wearing heels or not, but it didn't look like some shoes that a boy would actually wear. And then you had D Wade and Gabrielle Union kind of matching what he had on. But the point I'm making is D Wade is getting all this praise because he has accepted to calling his son his daughter, and the world gives him so much praise for it. But fathers like Richard Williams, because he was stern and hard on his daughters to push them to be the best that they can be and be the true successes that they are today, he gets shunned for that. But he's not the only one. I can give you a couple examples. Look at LeVar Ball. Despite how many people may feel about him because they say he's loud, he's boisterous, he's arrogant and cocky, you can't take away the fact that this man pushed all three of his sons to be branded. And by branded, I mean to have some names to themselves, even though I believe, I forget which Ball brother that is, the one that plays for the Lakers, who probably has the more popularity than the other two, but he still pushed them out there, and he even pushed the big baller brand around them, even though many people wasn't going to spend that much money for them shoes. But he still pushed his sons out there to be branded, and people hated him for that. I remember when he had the whole thing going on a couple years ago, LeVar Ball was everywhere, but they kept calling him cocky, arrogant. They said he needs to sit down. He needs to take a back seat to his sons and everything like that. It was a whole bunch of stuff going on with that. And this was a black dad that was just trying to see the best for his sons. A more famous one, of course, is Joe Jackson. For years, Joe Jackson have received so much flack mainly because of that movie, because they saw that and they thought he was this extremely abusive dad, when most of the stuff in there was for dramatic and theatrical effect. And this guy, if it wasn't for Joe Jackson, we would not have the Jackson family, which is a dynasty as a whole that includes none other than the king of music himself, Michael Jackson, and his sister. In my honest opinion, they call her the Empress of Pop, Janet Jackson. We wouldn't have them if it wasn't for Joe Jackson, another black dad who started from nothing. He used to work in a steel mill in Gary, Indiana, and he didn't want that anymore for himself or his kids to grow up in that environment. So he pushed them and saw that they had talent, and he did everything that he could to get them up out of Gary, Indiana, and on to better things and be extremely successful. And as you can see, his hard work paid off, but society put out this image that Joe Jackson was this horrible man that abused his kids, and his kids didn't want anything to do with him. But kids rebel. That's natural. A lot of kids rebel against their parents a lot, especially when you grow up in that industry. Because like you said, Michael Jackson, he didn't have a normal childhood. He was the youngest at the time before Randy and Janet came along. But as far as being pushed into that industry at the age of 5, that will do that to anybody. So, yeah, I can understand what his frustration was, but you can't deny the fact that Joe Jackson did what he had to do to, push his family not only to stardom and success, but also up out of poverty. That right there deserves all kinds of praise and all kinds of honor, because you don't know what this man has seen in his lifetime that he did not want his children to experience. The same thing with LeVar Ball. I highly doubt that LeVar Ball grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. But he saw potential in himself, but then saw potential in his sons and pushed them to be where they are. Same thing with Richard Williams. You should read that man's story. That man has dealt with all types of stuff in his day when he was growing up in Shreveport, Louisiana, before he ended up in Compton. Another black man who came from nothing and pushed his daughters to be the best they can be in an industry where it's predominantly palm colored, both the men and the women. At one time, the only type of tennis players that you saw was Arthur Ashe, as far as black people go, was Arthur Ashe and Wilma Rudolph. Those are like the only two that really were popular as far as men and women's tennis go who were black. And then along come the Williams sisters, and then they dominated. And you can see the racism is still there because they try to treat Serena Williams like crap. Although it has been said that they rebelled against their dad a couple of times, and that's both of them. But I'm not going to really get into that because I wanted to stay on this particular topic. But the point is, the society we live in will never give praise to a black father for doing what he is supposed to do as a father. They will always highlight the deadbeat dad because that's the popular and trendy thing to do. But the minute that a black dad does what he's supposed to do, people push back against it. Hence why I did that video where I said that King Richard film is getting pushed back from the gynocracy. When I was reading those comments that people were saying on there about Richard Williams and saying, why is he getting a movie before his daughters? It's like you want to completely shun the dad as if he was never there in his daughters' lives, as if they didn't grow up with their dad. As he plays a intricate part of their story. He was their first coach. Like, you can go online and look up footage of Richard Williams coaching his daughters before they ended up getting into tennis on a professional level. And they started young. They started when they were teenagers. The interesting thing about this, the three dads that I'm mentioning, LeVar Ball, Richard Williams, and Joe Jackson, is they all started their children when they were young. It's not like they were adults, because the Jacksons, they were from ages 5 to maybe high school age, maybe. LeVar Ball got his son started when they were probably, in their late teens. And then Richard Williams got his daughter started before they were even preteens. So that's the thing. They don't like when they see fathers in that, that the father-son, the father-daughter, father-child dynamic work. And they really don't like it when they push them and they get to the next level. Isn't that what parents are supposed to do for their kids? Push them to be better than they were? That way the generation can, not the generation, but the generations to come can do the same thing. But see, society will have it where they want the dads to, remain stagnant with their kids as far as black fathers go, so they can push it into another realm. You also got to wonder, too, why does the society always praise the mother over the father, even though it was the father that got them where they are? I bet you the person that was leaving that comment about Richard Williams would not have said this if this was the mother who was doing this, because society has told black people, or the black community as a whole, that the mother is better than the father, when in many cases that is entirely not true. If you want another example, look at how they treat Father's Day. Mother's Day gets all the praise from the mothers, and we let the mothers have their day because it's their day. But the minute Father's Day come around, oh, I was the mother and the father. Or if they don't say it, the kids will say it. And I think that is so disrespectful. That is so, in my opinion, disrespectful. Let these dads have their day. They only have one day as far as a calendar day goes, as a holiday goes. Let them have that. And according to the CDC, black fathers are the most involved fathers in the establishment, whether they are with the mother or not, whether they are doing this thing together or they're co-parenting. But, people don't read stats, and in many cases, many people just don't read. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just amazing what society will deem as a good father or a good black father when they allow debauchery, because this is all it is. It's debauchery at the end of the day when it comes to the Wade family at this point, and nothing more than them seeking attention. That's what society loves to see, because that's how they would prefer to see black males in particular. They will not want to see black men pushing their sons to be great, or in the case of Richard Williams, their daughters to be great. Black children, period. That's why when I do videos about black children doing the entrepreneurial thing, I always praise it, because it is worthy of being praised, and it deserves to be praised. It's unfortunate that I have to make commentaries like this pointing this out, but it is what it is. And when something has to be called out and called to attention and called to the carpet, I have to do it. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Have your notifications turned on, and I will talk to you in the next one.